Welcome to Clarity in Action. This is the show where we have real conversations that are going to challenge your perspectives and drive real action. So if you are tired of holding back and you're ready to make bold moves, this is the show for you. Join us as we are going to take you from confusion into clarity. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Clarity in Action. I am your host, Clara Capano. And one thing I want you to think about, I want you to think about failure, and I want you to think about setbacks. We fight them so hard. Nobody wants to fail. But what if failure is an option, and it actually is the best option for us because it's what makes us stronger and it is critical to our success? That is what we're talking about today. We are talking about debunking the myth of setbacks and how they really are the best setup for our future. So today I have my guest, Brandi Aspinall. Brandi, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here, Claire.
Yes, well, we are going to be really going deep on this one. And before we get into your story, I would just love to ask, why is it that we need to pay attention to this? Why do we need to overcome this and get past the myth that failure is a bad thing?
In my belief, and where we're at, is every failure you can, what I call, fail forward. And there is a lot of documented evidence out there to fail forward. One of the famous quotes that I always like, and it's from a hockey player, but he says, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Mm-hmm. And if you're not willing to risk or take that step out and do something that you might feel uncomfortable with, or maybe life circumstance has set you back and you want to get back up and go forward again, it's one of those things where you will stay stuck. And we don't want in our lives, and I know in my life, and the people that I interact with, we don't like staying stuck. Mm-hmm. And so failure is always going to be, change is always going to be a part of life.
Yeah.
And if you and if you take that step and you move forward through that failure and you learn from it versus get stuck in it, it becomes something beautiful and something that can live again and something you can move forward in.
Absolutely. And, I think if we really reflect on it, we've been failing since we were kids. Think about when you learn to walk. All those wobbles, that's failure, but it teaches us balance and it teaches us how to go where we are. And this is something that, you really have learned through your life and have even written a book about it. And I would love to just have you dive in a little bit to your story on how you learned about resilience and the positive side of failure.
Yeah. Well, it's one of temporary defeat and really relentless survival and ultimate victory. That's the name of my book. It's Go, and that is what it's called. But it's a go in a way of being versus in a way of doing at certain points in your life. My story is I was a world champion at the age of 13 in the rodeo arena, and I was state champion, went to nationals all 4 years, was scholarship my sophomore year to the number one college, rodeo college in the United States. And my life seemed perfect. My life seemed, I was on the rise in everywhere, great student, brilliant, but just everything just seemed to be working until my senior year of high school. Imagine with me, if you will, there's an arena with a booming announcer's voice coming over and saying, ladies and gentlemen, next up in the arena is your state champion, Brandi Aspinall. And I'm sitting in the alleyway, ready for my next go, for my next round, if you will. And I'm sitting there just thinking, and I start breathing as my horse, his heartbeat and mine become one. And the gates open, and I see my goal, and I go and I tie. And the next thing I hear is, ladies and gentlemen, your new leader and state champion is, and my name is announced, and it's wonderful. And the next day, I can't get out of bed hardly. The next day, I'm not able to make my 2-mile run. I start breathing very hard. State championships, I had the best state championship. And it was amazing and wonderful. My body starts to fail me. And everything that I relied on during that time, my physicality, I also sang the national anthem. I also did all of these physical things, and everything starts failing. And I have to come to the realization that I am throwing up water. I am not, my body is shutting down. And my mom is like, we got to get her to the hospital. What is going on? In 2 weeks, I lost 28 pounds. I started physically losing function. And I ended up in the hospital in complete renal failure because my throat started to swell. I couldn't hardly swallow. I was living off of ice chips, flavored ice chips, by the way. And the doctors had no clue what was going on. So they prescribed me prednisone, which a lot of people know is an anti-inflammatory steroid, because they thought maybe there's an infection in the back of her throat that we can't get to, that we can't see. And what that steroid did is it immediately attacked a tumor in my chest. It was about the size of my hand. It kicked out uric acid, shut down, and crystallized my kidneys. So I went into the hospital in complete renal failure. They gave me 24 hours to live. They looked at the nurses around me, and they said, watch this family. This girl is not walking out of the hospital.
It's like they gave you a death sentence.
Yeah, it was pretty much. My body was at 47% acidity. My kidneys weren't working. I was not, it was like within a blink of an eye. It was November 17th of 98 when I was 17.
And your whole life ahead of you, again, you just had hit all these milestones. And I mean, it's like you said, in the blink of an eye.
Yeah. And it was one of those times where, and I say it better in the book, right? You write it down, you edit it. But that's one thing that I love about life. And I'll get to that next step. But your life, I don't even know, there's no author or signed to this quote, but your life is a story. Write well, edit often.
Mm-hmm. Well said.
And so every point of your life, when I was 13 years old, like I said, I was a world champion in the rodeo arena and then state champion. And I remember my first state championship, my dad walked me out into the middle of the arena and he said to me, he goes, look around, everybody's gone. Where do you think they've gone? And I said, well, they're on the road. He's like, that's right. They're headed back home. They want to improve. They want to be where you're at. And they're going to work to be where you're at. I want you to hold this moment, this championship, enjoy it, but I don't want you to get stuck here.
Oh, what a great
I want you to learn from it and move forward from it. Mm-hmm. I want you to know that they are on the road. They're wanting to beat you. Kind of have a target on your back right now. Don't be intimidated by that. Rise to the occasion. 5 years from now, 6 years from now, nobody's going to remember your name in this arena. Nobody's going to remember this championship but you. And that's a good thing because you can learn from it. You can grow from it. He said this before I even faced the deathbed. So I went from champion to deathbed. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, it was one of those lessons where you learn in the championship arena, there are opportunities outside of that to encourage people, to uplift them. It's about the girl who was at her first state championship and she didn't know what to do. She didn't know where to go, and to take the time to pray with her, to talk with her, to encourage her. You've got this. It is okay. Or the young man whose parents were going through a divorce who came over to the trailer and we just sat down, the family, I should say, sat down and loved on him and encouraged him and ministered to him. It was those moments that are going to be remembered.
Yeah.
You can learn from your championships. When I was facing that deathbed and not even knowing what was going on, it started changing my future. I eventually, because of some prayer and some phenomenal dreams and amazing people that showed up, that stood, if you will, in the gap for me during that time in my life where I was laying there dying. Mm-hmm. There were dreams, there were prayers, there were visions over my life. I ended up, because of that and because of who God was in those moments for me, And because of people showing up for me and standing in the gap, I call them my superheroes. I walked out of the hospital 2 weeks to the day on my father's birthday. They couldn't find any sort of tumor. My kidneys were completely functioning. And it's like, woo, back to life is normal. No, it's not. You know, I had to reteach myself how to memorize. I had to reteach myself how to walk. There were things in my life that changed. And I remember I flashed back to that moment of standing in the arena with my dad. This is your next championship. It might not be in a big arena, but my dad, crying said, all the championships, all the buckles, all the saddles, all the titles pale in comparison to you getting up out of that hospital bed.
Yeah.
And walking down the hall.
Yeah. And what I love is, earlier you had the phrase temporary defeat. Mm-hmm. And I think that is so beautiful. And what a great reframe. It's just temporary. Today is not your forever reality, good or bad. And I love how you really brought it back to having this happen to you allowed you to see different opportunities in the same arena. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand is we get so focused, so pigeonholed that we don't see the other opportunities on the peripheral.
Yeah.
So I would love to have you maybe talk more about this, even from more of a professional business, because the people that are really following this, we got a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of leaders, we're failing every day. And so many times, we take that and we're so angry in the moment because all we're doing is focusing on the failure, not the peripheral.
Yeah. And in business, I mean, it's one of those things where you just said it. We fail every day. I pick up the phone and I say something. I was like, oh, that was a terrible voicemail. Or, oh, I should have. And we need to stop shoulding on ourselves.
Yep.
Is one of my lines, right? Mm-hmm. Stop shoulding on yourself. Say, okay, I know I didn't. What can I do? There's the famous speaker who talks about, he was a general, not an army person. So I don't want to butcher it, but he says, get up, make your bed. Just make your bed. Mm-hmm. So if you should have, don't focus on that should have, focus on the solution. Yeah. Mindset is huge in our industry and entrepreneurship, especially. Learn and choose the solution. So if you should have, then guess what? Yes, do it. Move forward. Learn from that. If you're not getting the results that you want, change what you're doing. And that's something that everybody knows. It's easy to say, it's a little more difficult to do.
Yeah.
The dreams in your heart are the birthplace of supernatural realities. Start to dream again. Start to journal. Listen to your favorite song. Dance around like a crazy person. Do something to get the should-haves out of your mind so that you can get back to why you started what you started.
Okay, so I want to just pause for a moment because I think all of these are great. And as you mentioned, sometimes it's easier said than done. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about this dream again, because many times what we fail at, that was our dream. I remember, thinking about one of my sisters, it was her dream to open a store. After 20 years, it was time to let go. And identity crisis, for you being this world-class rodeo star, that was your dream. It now has to change. Sometimes we have a job. That was our dream. We get fired. We marry someone. All of a sudden it's divorce. And it's easy to say, well, just start dreaming again. But when you're in it, what are some starting points? Because it's really hard to dream when the dream that you'd been dreaming for years is gone.
Yeah. I think my mom always said it best, is start to look for the opportunities within those dark moments. And what I mean from that is I have gone to the emergency room more times than I could count. And I have been in the situations, and I know I'm saying but I have been in the situations, I've had 5 brain surgeries, 6 hip surgeries. There's just a lot that goes on. You start dreaming when you start helping others.
Ooh, I love that.
And when you start helping others, when I go into the emergency room, can I tell you, those doctors, those nurses, all they see is death. All they see is tragedy. All they see. So one of my goals, even though my dream has paused, sorry, I broke my finger. So that's what you're saying here. Even though my dream has paused, what can I do to inspire someone else's? All they see is that death. All they see is darkness. So what's my goal? I want to put a smile on their face. I might not, this last July, I went into the emergency room, couldn't see, couldn't feel half of my left side. My goal was to put a smile on someone's face there. Because maybe their dream was not to be the emergency room, but they wanted to be a famous dancer or a singer or something else. But if you can bring joy to someone else in the situation, in a tragedy that you are facing, it really changes you in that moment.
Yeah.
And it seems so silly, but if you stop focusing inward and you start focusing outward, you can really, really make a difference or impact someone else's life. And I'm saying that to everybody who can listen. Help someone else dream. It's going to help your dreams come back alive.
That's beautiful. I also think, like, for me, one of the ways that I work to fight back on this temporary defeat is I really focus on the fact that life is happening for me and not to me. There's got to be a reason for it. And even if I don't understand it today, tomorrow, there's got to be a reason. And, call it faith, whatever it is. But having that gives me a sense of peace and calmness. Doesn't mean I'm still not disappointed in the moment, but it gives me that ability to, again, look and expand where I'm looking and say, what is this giving me the opportunity to do, or to hold space to know that my right thing is coming? What are your thoughts on that?
I love that. I love that. One of my favorite teachers ever, one of his quotes is, "We don't fight for victory, we fight from victory."
Ooh, that's a good one.
I love that quote. I love saying that. I love reminding myself that pick yourself up, you win in the end.
Yeah. So good. I love that. So, you are now recreating your dreams. You are inspiring others. You're doing, so much. I would love to have you share, what is next for Brandi?
And what is next for me? I would say being in the moment.
Yeah.
Realizing that rest is okay.
But talking about this idea of why is rest so important in helping us with these temporary defeats?
Rest is so important because when you take a step back and you sit and you rest in the moment, you realize the blessings you have. So I might not be rodeoing anymore. I had to come home for college from other stuff because my hips were failing because of chemo. Everything's from chemo, right? But when you rest and you take a deep breath, not only does your body re-nourish itself, there's science out there, right? Or your health, but you can also take a deep breath and realize what you do have. For me, I'm like, well, I'm not on these huge public stages yet talking blah, 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 and getting paid thousands of dollars, right? I could focus on that, or I could focus on, they never said I was supposed to have children again, ever. I have 2 beautiful, beautiful growing girls. They said I'd never sing again. I sing the national anthem all over Colorado. And sometimes when they invite me out to other states, or I sang for our company, our big corporate event in Vegas, right? Or there's things that you realize that you've done or that you have accomplished that you can say, you know what, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I might be, like we were saying, fail forward. I might be not failing in this moment, but if I rest and realize what I do have, that gratitude starts coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, but when you are strung out and you are so just on your last leg, if you don't rest, you start spiraling.
You do.
And mindset, as you know, in our industry is one of the biggest things that we have to work on. Absolutely. And when you're not rested, that mindset can spiral. And then but guess what? When you're forced into rest, like I have been a lot, you get to really start appreciating.
Absolutely. And I think even just giving yourself permission, and it could be semantics. Instead of calling it rest, call it reflection time.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. I know for me, I do a lot of, time on the plane, time in the car. It's great reflection time for me. And some of my best ideas come when I'm in those moments of rest.
Yeah.
Well, I love it. So that's awesome. So again,
one of those examples is I failed putting on my lipstick on a live podcast. And I'm okay with it. I'm okay with stopping, reflecting, fixing, and we're moving forward.
Exactly. Well, Brandi, I appreciate you sharing. Your story, I think, is extremely inspirational. And as sad as I am that you had to go through that experience, how grateful I am, because from it, you have been able to grow into the person you are, be able to inspire and impact so many other lives. And I know that you're just getting started as you're going into more of the speaking field and doing these. So I have one final question to ask you in our time today. And that is, sitting where you sit today, learning all of these lessons, how do you define success for yourself?
Success for me is to continue to impact even just one person every day. Yeah. And I will say that wrapping up my story in that is, November 17th of 98, when I was 17, I was diagnosed. November 17th of 2016 was my first brain surgery, my first out of 5 brain surgeries. But we'd already had our first daughter, which debunked, if you will, the myth that I was not going to have children. Call her Emma. She's our miracle child. And then November 17th of 2017, we had Bria. And so that date that was diagnosed with death was revived for life.
Ugh, wow.
And so if you don't continue and move forward those experiences, that's what success is, continuing to move forward and impacting others and realizing that you get a chance to tell people the beautiful things that are in store for them in life. Because I could talk about my story all day long. If my story doesn't impact someone else to get up, to move, to go, to be who they were called to be, then why are we living this life? Wow. Impact someone every single day with joy, with gratitude, or just with a listening ear.
So beautiful. Well, Brandi, thank you so much. What a great reminder that setbacks happen, and it's in those defining moments that we rise even stronger. I loved how you started us off by even talking about that your life is a story. Keep writing it and keep editing it. Don't stop with it. So Brandi, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for your time, for your light, and just continued success to you in all your endeavors.
Thank you. And Claire, thank you for having me. It's been a true honor and a true joy. You're a beautiful, impactful, amazing human. And I'm honored to sit here and chat today.
Thank you so much. And we'll meet soon in person.
Mwah. And I would give you a heart, but it looks really... Yes, my horse and I got into a fight and the reins won.
Well, hey, that's their win for the day. So thanks, everyone. And catch us next week for another episode of Clarity in Action. I'm your host, Clara Capano, and go out there and impact some lives today. Welcome to Clarity in Action. This is the show where we have real conversations that are going to challenge your perspectives and drive real action. So if you are tired of holding back and you're ready to make bold moves, this is the show for you. Join us as we are going to take you from confusion into clarity.